Good afternoon and welcome to UnitedTV. I'm going to request a couple of my people to help us today. There are some technical changes that we have. We are believing, at least Ethan believes, that we have a better sound system now. So hopefully people can hear me better. So our goal is to make sure that we can improve these and make things better for those who are listening. Now, I'm just going to wait for some confirmation while we are talking about waiting for this. And yes, James can say that we are seeing your microphone. That's fine, James. It's a live show. But how is the sound? Is it better? All right. So Al Pacino says it is better. So then we are good. All right. Again, welcome to UnitedTV. My name is Kemal Erkan. Today is December 27th, 2024. This is our last episode of 2024. And before we actually start with all these, this week between Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year coming, hopefully everyone has a great time with their holidays, and hopefully 2025 will be a much better year than 2024. So we do pick our topics based on certain issues that's actually surfacing and how it involves us. And then there are some of them we like to cover and there are some we don't. And Luigi Mangione case is one of them that we really don't like to cover. However, because of the hysteria around this issue, we have to kind of follow up with what we have. So I have some personal observations regarding this issue. And, one of the things, and I thought I mentioned this last week, apparently I didn't. So one of the things for me was after watching Menendez brothers, for those who don't know, they are very wealthy family, 2 kids, they killed their parents. So there's a new TV show on Netflix. So, and I did watch it, I believe, maybe 2 months ago. And the way they portrayed these individuals, there was a point where I felt like, oh, maybe they should free them. So the issue again is how media even can influence a 50-year-old, like someone like me, someone who has a lot of education, a lot of experience. Even I can feel like, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't be in jail anymore. But then there was that part where the older brother or the older brother, where he was actually telling everything to this outsider, where she was writing and recording all those. So I think if that piece didn't happen, I don't know if you guys watched this, but if that piece wasn't there, I would almost say that, hey, these guys shouldn't be in jail anymore. So this is how dangerous the way that media influence is. So, and I see a similar pattern in this issue. Psychological impact on a 14, 15, 16-year-old or a 26-year-old. This is something that we see as a problem with these individuals. So therefore, responsibility of media needs to be taken very seriously. And I believe that is what's lacking in this whole issue so far. Now, when we look at this issue from another $1 billion family, and it's not a joke, it's like they're extremely wealthy. And they have this 26-year-old who is missing since apparently June timeframe, 2024. And the way that it is, James is saying that we lost sound. Is that the case? So we'll check that. So, okay, it was only for 5 seconds, so that's fine. So, well, we are trying this one, so if things don't work out, we can always go to the other one, but this is why it's good for what's happening with the family. Where is the family? Where is this really extremely wealthy family where they let this guy who has great education from UPenn but he lives in a hostel. Like this is a group of people live together. It's not a hotel. It's not even like a hotel room. So you share rooms in these settings. So, well, my family is not billion-dollar family, but I don't remember last time I flew economy. So why is this guy living in this poverty is not making sense? That means there's a bigger story of this. There is a bigger issue of family and his ties with his family. And there's something that's, or perhaps he actually chose to do this. We don't know. But definitely he wasn't happy. Um, so, they're saying that we lost 5 seconds. I'm going to increase this since this is a visible thing. It's fine. Um, Guys, let me know if it happens more than a couple more times so then we can switch if it's necessary. Now, what made him to decide to disappear and disconnect with his family? So this is something interesting. The media is not actually covering this. Why is media not telling and researching and doing the journalism that's needed and then go and find these facts? And then instead of providing us what he wears, and is it like maroon or burgundy, like making that color discussion of his sweater versus like his orange shoes, but not talking about what happened to this person with his family. Why does he live with a group of people? That's not a desirable situation for someone who comes from this level of wealth, this level of education. So I think that's going to probably change a lot of things. And I think maybe because of that desperation, he got closer to this other guy, Brian Thompson, and maybe there was some type of a relationship between the two. Um, Now, of course, I don't know any of these. I'm just guessing because the pieces that we have today is not making any sense. So now, when I am watching uh, these supporters of Luigi Mangione, this is another thing that really bothers me. So in this country, you may be happy or unhappy with anything or everything, but there's a way to process and uh, go after these things legally. So you don't have to commit crime. If everyone is trying to get their way by harming other people, then it will be like the old days. It would be a crazy country to live in, and that's not what we are. We are one of the best democracies and best systems in the world, and because of that, you have choices. You can, especially someone who's this intelligent, could have chosen a better pattern, better. He could make better decisions and do a better job. But today, what we are seeing is a group of people who are supporting him outside of the court. This person, because of him, there are two kids right now. They went through Christmas without their father. Forget the wife because they were not together. But the two kids, they were close enough to him that he bought a house in the same neighborhood. So the two kids don't have their fathers anymore because Luigi has his moments. And we have people who are almost so idiotic that supports this guy. I'm not going to be able to have any sympathy or empathy. That is just sick. So with that, I always try to kind of look into these social issues from different perspectives. Someone who's being Turkey, living my life, half of my life here, first half there. And for someone, I may be a white person. For some Karen, I may be the Middle Eastern guy. And for someone, I may be well educated. For someone, I may be just like another entrepreneur money-hungry entrepreneurs. So this could be, this is something that we always see. So now, I try to put these pictures. I'm taking full responsibility of this bad image that we have here. So Ethan has no fault on this. This is my bad. I try to kind of point out, what if? What if? So I don't want to use real people, and then I use AI to, generate some of these pictures. What if Luigi was a black man? Those people who are supporting him outside of the court, would they still be there? What if he was a Mexican guy? Would we just say that, hey, like these illegal immigrants, they need to go back where they came from? If he was a Middle Eastern guy, would we say, hey, here's the terrorist, I wonder what connections he has? So this is how also important this issue for me is, because we have selective perception on the issue. Hey, this is a good-looking guy, Caucasian, well-educated, and he has burgundy sweater and orange shoes. He looks kind of cool, likable. He can kill people. This is a sick mind. We need people to be smart, responsible, and also have empathy for those who are whose lives being destroyed. So that is one of the things. And right before we started today, I saw the message from Mr. Anugu, my invisible support, and that is, if we can bring up the survey. This is also why we are kind of covering this the way that we have. There was a study. Now I'm gonna read that to you. So, share of adults who say they believe select factors are responsible for Brian Thompson's death. So the 79% says the individual himself, this would be Luigi, and 69% it says coverage denials by health insurance companies. And 67% says health insurance company profits. What about the hospitals? What about McDonald's? The irony is this guy was caught in McDonald's, and McDonald's probably harms public more than insurance companies. So, and 53% says wealth or income inequality in general. So this is why this subject is very important. So this survey is scary in a way that people can just blame. Like we are part of our core business is medical billing, and if it's anything, we would be the one who hate the insurance companies the most, because we deal with those denials. And if we have time today, I'm going to actually share some examples with you guys. But this doesn't mean that I need to kill people. There's a system, there are court. If I have issues, I need to follow the procedure in place. So it's not like everyone is going to go and just, oh, Ethan, you didn't do this, I'm going to shoot you. Too bad, you should have done it yesterday. Like, this is not how we deal with issues. The truth is, if you have a really shitty insurance, most likely either you didn't want to spend the money. And I agree with some of the insurance issues, which, well, I agree with a lot of insurance issues, but this is not in the form of, hey, we need to start killing these CEOs of these companies. So what is next? Like, we are going to kill the president of the United States because we may have issues, which this happened in the past. But if this becomes the common practice, just think about what may happen. So this is where I probably want to leave this issue, and I wish I don't have to come back to this, but what we are going to see is a Cirque du Soleil Luigi episode, and unfortunately, we probably will come back to this topic again and again. So Now let's go to our BRICS and dollars dominance, whether or not dollars dominance is under threat. All right, so this is a live show. As you can see, everything is happening as we go through this. So now let's talk about what's happening with the Trump de-dollarization and then what US needs to do. So this is, I mentioned last week or the week before, I feel like I own the topic of BRICS in the United States, because when I start talking about this, no one was aware of what was happening. I'm not saying that they didn't know, but they didn't think this was going to happen. So why this is important is because I believe that the changes that's going to happen in the near future is going to impact the average American's life. So, but the issue is what I see between the two administration of Biden versus Trump, one being extremely passive versus the other one is becoming extremely aggressive, and see where this is going to take us. And for people to understand, for those who may not have any idea before what BRICS is, they can at least see what's coming to their way. So the issue, I believe, from United States standpoint, I believe we need to prepare what's coming from the administration standpoint. But this doesn't mean that we need to be extremely aggressive. So I want people to kind of remember, for those who are following the global issues, the reason probably BRICS got a lot of momentum is because the way that us, United States, use the dollar as the financial sanctions and the weaponization of dollar, so where we said, okay, you are not going to do X for me, so I'm going to take you out of this financial system. We did this to a lot of countries, and this was out of proportion. So the financial sanctions and the weaponization of dollar was the reason this actually BRIC got a lot of this issue. Now Trump says, hey, I'm going to go with 100% tariffs on BRICS plus countries. Well, this sounds good. The average American may say, hey, go and get it done, blah, blah. But is it the best thing for us? Probably not. Is it realistic? Absolutely not. Is it doable? Yes, but then who's going to pay for it is us people who live in the United States. So the when you look at the BRICS plus countries, they represent 35%, actually close to 40% of the global's GDPs. And this is a lot more than, this is what we have to kind of deal with. So we have to kind of pick our battles carefully. So being aggressive, sometimes anger is sweet, but it's not the best thing for us. So we have to be smart. And we have to deal with these other countries in a more constructive way. So just because we don't get our way doesn't mean that we need to destroy them, because there are people who live in those countries. Like this can be Philippines, this can be Turkey, this can be any other country in the world who are depending on dollar and global currency. So therefore, we have to be more responsible. So what may happen? So can we see, BRIC plus countries pushing for de-dollarization? Yes, that will probably happen in time. But would it, if things get more aggressive, if US goes out of its way and make a lot of enemies, this can motivate those countries to take this to a next level. The next level would be would be another currency, because right now they're just trying to have another financial system like SWIFT. So they just want to have an alternative. So then if you need to do the trade with different countries, you are not depending on your good relationships with the United States. That's what the issue is. And all these countries, they have a great trade level with us, and we also need them. So we need to buy those things from somewhere. If you don't produce them, what's going to happen if you don't have those available to us? So things are going to become more and more expensive for us. So we mentioned the sanctions and how it's being used. And clearly, in my opinion, Trump probably needs to loosen up a little bit, making things less aggressive and have build good relationships with these countries, and not to use dollar as a weapon. So then we can actually like, if I tell you some unrealistic, if I promise you some unrealistic project that's not going to happen, and you just go crazy about it, well, 12 months later, I'm going to ask you what happened, and you have zero progress, or you have 2% or 5%, we are going to say, hey, things didn't work out. So this is not what we discussed, right? So this is what's going to happen. I think he's probably misguided in a way, at least in my opinion. So the future is we are going to see probably dollar weakening, and therefore things are going to be a little bit more difficult for us in the United States. So what does that mean is this is going to be higher interest rates, inflation, everything is going to be probably less accessible or available, and that's going to impact the average American. So that's one of the reasons that we are bringing this up. So this other topic that we have related to United States and leadership is the UFO crisis. I'm not going to get into this too deep today, just because I didn't think we are going to have a lot of time, but I just want to put this out there before something crazy happens between now and 2 weeks from now, until our next live sessions, so then I can tell you that I told you so. So there's something fishy about this. Now, I was listening to Trump's press conference the other day, and he says that U.S. government knows about what's going on, and it's not too casual. But it also says that, well, this is not those foreign countries. We are not invaded by foreign countries, but it's not our own people either, our own military. So then what happens? So this events of drone sighting happens not in just one place, but multiple places, including in England, with the same time frame. And the one that happened in England actually is around the US military base. So either we are doing something really cool, crazy stuff, or maybe we are already in touch with the aliens. So like, I think the other day, who asked me that? I think it was Dr. Erdogan was asking me if, or was it Alp? I think it was Al Pacino. So I was talking to someone and I said, look, I mean, if they're here, so that's fine. So what am I going to do, right? As long as they don't harm us, we should be okay. But I think there may be some security gaps that people are kind of worried about. So, and also like bringing this up in a controlled way, even if Trump is talking about it, is there some reason that this needs to be discussed? Meaning that, are we hiding something else while we are bringing everyone's attention to this issue? I see this all the time. I say this all the time, like with Johnny Depp, that stupid trial was so hideous. We have to watch that, including myself. Not all of them, I didn't, but I had to pay attention because everyone was talking about it. Who cares about what Johnny Depp is doing in his bedroom? And that crazy lady was pooping in bed and this and that. Like, I have to know all these crazy stuff because media, again, pushed these to our way, and we had to watch it. So UFO, either we have them or not, doesn't matter. But coming up like conveniently whenever they want, and they cover a little bit, I think it was 6, 7 months ago, where they said that NASA was going to make this big announcement about um, the aliens, and nothing happened. So now I would not be surprised if, because I don't really get the whole sense of this entire universe is just for people in this planet. So that's the waste of universe. So I'm sure there are some other beings, or maybe the dimension of what we live, like different dimensions, this and that. But like I always think that in our dreams, we are kind of like, what are we doing in the dreams? Just think about it. We are in contact with some dimension. We are in another domain, another dimension, doing things that we have some control, but not full control. And crazy thing is, in some cases, we remember them. And some cases, we can actually guide our dreams before you go to bed. Think about certain things for the last 20 minutes before you go to bed. You're going to start dreaming about that topic. You have a very stressful next day coming up. You are going to have that day. Like I still have, if I have a really important day, I go through those and practice those issues in my dreams. Like I may have the same meeting 3 times and I get up really tired in the morning, but I'm ready for the meetings. Even for this session, if I'm stressing out before, like not every week, but times that where I may have a really important guest, I'm already interviewing that person in my dreams at least a couple times. So this happens. So now, not understanding why we have those and how we have it, the only explanation perhaps is the dimension, the different dimensions. And the aliens probably, like if they're there, as long as they don't attack us and we are ready to protect ourselves, we should be okay. So that's not a huge problem. Now, last two topics between the BRICS um, and the issue of UFOs. It brings me to this topic, which I was kind of like debating whether or not this was timely, but I think it's timely. So the leadership and the leadership of the country is extremely important. And I do want to give some credit to President Erdogan, the president of Turkey. And why is that? Because of what just happened in Syria in the last couple of weeks, and how successfully they were able to um, free up those individuals who's been tortured for the last 13 years. And also doing this in a way that they got everyone's support, including Russia, which, if you think about it, Syria was the kind of like the little uh, brother of Russia, but then he convinced them to do the right thing. And then now today, people of Syria are free. Free, but the guy who ruined their lives right now in Russia with close to $2 billion. But when you look at what Erdogan has done with the way that his pragmatic and visionary perspective, regardless of you may have issues on the in the domestic settings in Turkey, when you look at it from the global standpoint, when he, as a leader of the country, his country, is able to be part of NATO, but still be part of the mediation of Ukraine and Russia, be part of NATO and still do the things with Israel and Palestine. Even the last thing with Ethiopia and the peace agreement that they have in place with their neighbors. There may be some other stuff that I'm forgetting. But what we see is you don't have to be a puppet, meaning that you can have a backbone and you can lead with dignity. I think what President Erdogan is doing today for Turkey is that. And doing the right thing doesn't mean that you are the most popular person all the time, but this shouldn't matter. And that's what I see with him doing, and not getting into these aggressive fights. Sometimes, like, what's the better leadership. Is it Biden or is it Trump? We probably may not go with one and try to say that, hey, like the combination of those two, maybe, like not too aggressive is not the way. And that's what I see with Turkish president and even his role on not just the surrounding countries, but countries in Africa. What he has done in Libya, I forgot. So that's pretty impressive, and I believe that's going to help Turkey a lot. Now, one of the reasons that I'm giving him all these credits, this is important because look what we have here in the United States. So we have Canada and we have Mexico, and then two neighbors who are not at our level, and we just kind of smash them whenever we want. Like when Trump doesn't feel like, hey, what's the guy name? Justin Trudeau. So then he's like, hey, like you'll be the next state for us because you can't do certain things. Like you shouldn't be talking to another country leader like that. Now, I don't like that guy either. I'm maybe on the same page, but whether or not we like the person is not the issue. The issue is how we deal with these people. Like what makes us sophisticated is not like, you are just like acting like an animal. Like, hey, like you need to be able to have a proper communication, a good relationship with people. So that's our neighbor, right? So, but my point is there's only two of them and we are not in great shape, but we have zero threat from those countries. Now, what Erdogan is able to do with so many crazy neighbors that Turkey has, and still being able to manage those relationships, dealing with PKK terror groups, and dealing with all the ups and downs of the region, and still doing a good job and leading. Hopefully, he's happy. So now our next topic, which we do have time. Now, I want to make sure that we do not combine these issues, what I'm going to discuss, with the first topic that we have. Independent from Luigi, I do want to open up the insurance companies and the insurance systems and the issues that we have currently. Now, there's a real problem in that industry. So my office, from the revenue cycle management, aka medical billing, it's been so now if I bring a couple of my client managers today, they can tell you how stressed they are because they have to deal with a lot of unnecessary denials. So you believe that there's a system in place that you send a claim, the clearinghouse pays them, and then you get paid in 2 weeks. That's not what happens. So even if you have authorization, you may get a denial for not having an authorization. And then when you try to appeal, then you get someone in India, if it's an Aetna claim. So then they, go around the entire country of India because different call centers. And then you talk to 20 people and you still don't have your claims paid. So are you okay with the commissioner? He was with us a couple times, and we are going to probably bring him again. I believe we need to take our issues seriously and then understand these issues and educate the state legislatives, and also we need to do the work. So if we just take a kind of like not a proactive approach, then these things are going to happen, and then we are not going to go anywhere. But like another issue with the insurances is the takebacks. So in Delaware right now, they can take the money back up to 2-3 years. We have cases right now with a couple of the major insurances today where claims are from 2021. The problem is when you take that money that you paid incorrectly, what's going to happen to the healthcare provider And therefore, what's going to happen to the patient? So it seems like there's this gap between, like, I have to send the claims to, let's say, Aetna in 120 days, but Aetna can take the money back from us 2-3 years from the date of service. How is that fair? And still, we don't need to harm anyone, but we need to use the system, legal system, to fight this. And that's what we are doing. Having a good documentation of what you do, and dealing with the legal system, legal teams of each companies, and then escalating these issues is the way to do. But this doesn't mean that these issues are resolved today. Now, when we look at the delayed payments, so I just want to make sure that people understand we are a healthcare provider, so we have medical offices. We provide services for medical offices. So now, if you go to, let's say, ShopRite, it's one of the grocery stores, you buy stuff, and then you cannot leave there until you make the payment. But if you are a medical provider, and if the patient comes to you, the patient doesn't have to make, or the insurance company doesn't have to make the payment at the time of the service. The only responsibility they have is the copay, and if that's the office is proactively collecting that. So we provide the service and no payments. So the payments is now we are at the mercy of the insurance company. So what happens with that is we send the claims, and we are hoping that clean claims gets paid in 30 days. Well, that doesn't happen. So then, while the claim with the proper eligibility and proper authorization, proper CPT code, ICD-10 code, all these are correctly in the system, and you still get a denial. Right now, ALP is working on one of the United Healthcare claims, and we have nowhere to go. It's got denied like 4 or 5 different times. Even the regional manager is, I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, someone should. And if you don't, then there has to be a consequences, and that's in the legal system, of course. So these issues are real. So I want to separate the main problems and not to kind of misguide anyone. So I do believe that there is a significant issue, which we've been discussing this, but the dealing is from United Medical ACO standpoint. We took this to a different level. So we have someone who's in charge of our contracting, one of our directors, Anthony Anugu. So that's his full responsibility when there are issues with the contract terms, with the payments at a different level. So then we are channeling the issues through Anthony. So not everyone has that, or not everyone is willing to invest in those resources. Now, just one of the surveys in 2024, it says 27% of the patients experience denied claim in the past year. 27% is a lot, 1 in 4. So, and then they also say that private insurances have a higher denial rates than Medicare and Medicaid. Well, Medicare and Medicaid are more like a system dependent, meaning that you send a claim and Medicare is going to pay you in two weeks. Medicare is not going to deny your claim if you have authorization. And if for whatever reason it happened on the next appeal, it will get paid. But that's not the same thing for the commercial insurances. Now, when the Medicare is subcontracting Medicare Advantage programs, so then the same issue starts with those. So you can treat them as a commercial pool. So the same issues that we have in on the commercial side will happen on the other side. So the healthcare systems, the 2023 year calendar year, they lose over 1.6 billion. This is a monthly figure, 1.6 billion, because of the takebacks and involves of insurers reclaiming funds months or years after the claim is paid. So these issues you won't see if you are a car dealer. You sell the car, you get your money done. If you are a supermarket, you sell your goods and you get your money at the time of service done. If you're a healthcare provider, if you're a surgeon, doctor, primary care, whatever specialty you have, you don't get paid. So this is also impacting the patient. So this is not just isolated for the healthcare providers, because if you don't get paid, then we engage the patients. So it's a problem. So providers spent average $43.84 per claim when the claim is rejected. Now, just put that in perspective. So level 4 office visits for, let's say, Medicare, that's $129. If it's denied for any reason, provider's admin cost is $44. Well, they don't have that type of any high profit margins. So that means every time claim is denied, they are losing money. And also it's putting a lot of stress on the patient. So this needs to be discussed, and this needs to be addressed. And that's why United Medical ACO is in close contact with our state officials who are in charge of the law for these issues. And we are actually seeing some improvements in the last couple of years. Brian Thompson, our state majority leader, is leading. Sarah McBride, our congresswoman-elect. She has done a lot of work. And we are going to probably see some more improvements, but it's not enough and it's not there yet. So I think I'm going to leave it here for today. So we were able to cover what we planned from the beginning. There may be some sound issues. We are going to check those to see, as I mentioned, we have the new sound system here. So there may be some issues. Hopefully it wasn't that bad. Again, this is our last episode for 2 p.m. show. In 15 minutes, we are going to be back with Bariatric Friday with Dr. Erdogan. And so can they see that?
I think it will pop up. Is that okay?
Yeah, it is.
Just to end it.
So that's a good end. That's the best part of the show.
Yeah,
probably.
Up, yeah.
Yep, there we go. There's Dr. Joshua. Dr. Joshua in AI cartoon version. So we'll be back with this episode in 2 weeks. Well, Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys soon.